Hi everyone, I hope we're all having a fabulous day or night wherever it is that you're watching this video. I just came home from work and the gym and showering, and I wanted to talk about how to get out of your comfort zone. I feel like, especially because of the law of assumption, we have gotten bamboozled into thinking that everything should be easy for us, including going out there and taking risks. Like, you don't need to be taking risks and everything is just going to fall in your lap, and that is just simply not the case. We live in a world full of different people and circumstances and situations, and we still need to put in the action. We need to put in the work. It's the same example that I give, where if you want to be a YouTuber, you need to be uploading content to be a YouTuber. You can't, be a YouTuber without creating YouTube videos, or you can't be a journalist without creating, writing articles, right? You can't expect to look ripped as hell and you haven't stepped into the gym one day of your life. It's all about using your discernment to know where you need to be putting in the work and where you should be taking it more easily. And that is on a case-by-case basis. It's by being in the present moment and using your discernment depending on a situation. For example, going to the gym. If I want to lose weight, I'm going to go to the gym and eat less. However, if I want a promotion and I know that I'm putting in the work, I am going to say everything comes to me super easily, and I'm going to expect that that promotion is going to come to me instead of the other people that are on my team, and I'm just going to be getting more opportunities from my manager, from the company, from random emails, from wherever. It's about being open to things coming to you 100%, but it's about also not just sitting there and not doing anything, right? But it's also important to recognize when it is that you do need to put in the action and go out of your comfort zone, step outside of your house, do what it is that you need to do, reach out. You can't be expecting people to be reaching out all the time. So what is the very first step of coming out of our comfort zone? It is recognizing that getting out of your comfort zone is necessary in certain circumstances, and it's up to you to decide what those circumstances are, but understand that it is the truth, that you do need to go out of your comfort zone. That is life. That is how life is set up. I would previously listen to this information and get triggered because I wasn't ready to hear it yet. If that is the case, come back to this video when you're ready, but understand that what I'm about to tell you is the truth. I'm not sure what journey you're on, whether you just came into adulthood and you were used to your parents telling you what to do your entire life and helping you achieve certain things like going to school and getting good grades, or you've been through the ringer with manifesting and you think that literally everything is meant to fall in your lap no matter what, or you might be in a headspace where you're not ready to come out yet and go out of your comfort zone and do risky things that are scary, that will put you in vulnerable situations, which will put you in situations where you can potentially fail. I live in Manhattan, I live in Manhattan, I live in Manhattan, I live in Manhattan. If we want a boyfriend, but we're not going on at least online dating apps, no matter how cringeworthy and awkward it is, the man isn't going to come knocking at your door, as much as I would love that. I love staying at home and chilling, but there comes a time when you need to get your ass out of the door and take risks, like going on dates, setting yourself up to more opportunities, being approachable out on the street, being the one to reach out sometimes. Not first, you're talking to a Russian here, but take the initiative once in a while after you've been speaking for a little bit, So we need to recognize when we can sit back and relax and go into our feminine energy, and also recognize when it's time to turn the masculine energy on and put in the action. There's no one way. It's literally case by case, depending on what you want, depending on the situation. When I just moved to Manhattan, I got a promotion within 1 month, but the salary increase was absolutely nothing. And at that point, that was when opportunity struck, and that's when I asked for a raise, for a higher salary than the one that was offered me for that promotion. And I'll never forget what my manager told me at that point. He said, don't ask, don't get. So we need to open our mouths more and ask for things that we want, regardless of if we get a no or a yes. And we need to be comfortable with failure, as terrifying as it is. I want to play a little short snippet that I heard recently, and I have loved it ever since, so I'm gonna play it right now.
I was walking down the street and I saw an old man. Had a hat, suspenders, and a cane. Was about 80 years old. This old man was barely walking. He could walk, but the cane helped a lot. He was struggling. So anyway, he was walking across the street and he ended up falling. So I went over to go help him. And he gets up, says thank you, and we introduced ourselves. Had a little conversation. Told me his name and I told him mine. His name was Robert, by the way. And right as he walked away, I told him, this is what I said. Robert, you should stay inside where it's safe, my friend. And Robert turns around and says to me, I love walking, and I love walking way more than I'm afraid of falling. So I asked him, well, what about your safety? Don't you want to live? And he told me this. These are the exact words he said. He said this: Solo, living means doing what you love to do. And if I have to fall here and there to do what I want to do in life, then so be it. And he just walked away. Never saw him again. That was it. But that statement really had me thinking, and it had me thinking hard, because I learned something that day. That's when I realized the true key to success. You see, I always thought if I could just fear the act of failing, and if I fear it like crazy, I will succeed. Because I thought the fear would magically motivate me to get out there and start taking action. But after that day, I realized something. I realized it's the love for success that will lead me to succeeding. So just imagine if Robert feared falling. Would he even start walking? Of course not. He wouldn't even do what he loved to do. He would sit at home and take no type of action. But he loved walking. Wasn't even scared to fall. It gave him life. That's what allowed him to get up and do it. He loved walking so much, he was willing to fall 10 times a day just to do it. And you have to be the same.
So we need to be comfortable with failure and knowing that when we put ourselves out there more, we are open to more opportunities. I'm also going to play a clip that I heard recently as well that opened my mind up, because I realized that there are opportunities around us literally at every single moment, whether it's an email, whether it's a notification, whether it is a tweet, whether it's someone saying hello to you at work that you've never spoken to, or you see someone in the lift that kind of looks intimidating, but you know, from you saying hi and striking up a conversation, no matter how awkward it is, you don't know what's going to happen with that relationship. When we put ourselves in a vulnerable spot, even when we don't know what to say, we will get so much farther than just staying quiet and just doing the bare minimum. So I'm gonna play this clip.
People who are unlucky tended to be the ones that focused on planning and trying to get certainty about decisions before actually making the decisions. And so generally in Richard's studies, the sorts of people who had more outgoing personalities, who exposed themselves to opportunities for lucky events to happen to them, and then took advantage of those lucky events, those were the people that kind of rated themselves as luckier and then were also happier in all the kind of life satisfaction surveys that he and his team did. Interestingly, people who were more extroverted tended to be luckier because they just met more people and actively struck up conversations with strangers in coffee shops and that kind of thing. That tends to lead to more lucky breaks in your life. People who are more relaxed also tend to be luckier. So the more stressed and anxious you are, the more like defensive you are in the way that you approach life. Whereas if you can take a deep breath and generally approach life in a more relaxed fashion, then you're more likely to be able to see kind of the things in your peripheral vision, as it were, and take advantage of those opportunities. And thirdly, if you're the sort of person who's more open to new experiences, novel experiences and new things also tend to lead to luckier breaks in life. You tend not to get very lucky when you're focused on just doing exactly the same thing you've always done because you like your routine or whatever. You tend to become luckier when you start to become open to new experiences. The people that actually maximize their network opportunities in a non-weird way, like those tend to be the luckier people. For example, in my life, so many things have happened through just a random person I met on Twitter or on the street who recognized me or at a conference I went to. All of the good things in my life I can kind of trace back to a completely serendipitous, lucky encounter with a random person by virtue of the fact that I put myself out there and I did a thing and I spoke to someone or replied to someone's Twitter DM or whatever that might be. And as I was rereading the book, this was one of the things that most stuck with me because a lot of lucky people tend to, for example, strike up conversation with people in coffee shops or in queues or whatever. And I tend not to do that. Like I kind of had a phase where I used to do that back in the day when I was actively trying to work on becoming more confident and like more assured. But then I now kind of stopped and I'm on my phone. I'm always listening to an audiobook. And so as I was reading this book, I was thinking, damn, I've probably let so many interesting opportunities pass by me by virtue of just not striking up conversation and not just doing my best to maintain my network of friends and colleagues and associates. And so that's like a real practical tip that I'm taking away from the book myself. Anyway, in the book, Richard talks about 2 potential exercises that you can do to help increase your lucky network. The first exercise is something called Connect 4. And basically the idea here is that every week you make it a point that your job is going to be to speak to someone that you don't know. So it could be an interaction in a shop or in a coffee shop or on the road or in a bus or whatever. Your job is every week to make one of these new connections or at least talk to someone. And then the second exercise, which I'm going to try and do myself, is called the contact game, where again, the challenge is that every week your job is to make contact with someone that you haven't been in touch with for a while. So this could be sending them a text or a voice note or just a random phone call. But basically the idea is that by doing these exercises, you're kind of building and maintaining your network of luck. And then at some point down the line, good serendipitous things, lucky things will start to happen to you. Technique number 3, become more approachable. Now this is again something interesting that he talks about in the book. The idea that when he was doing his studies, he and his research team, they could kind of tell at first glance who were the people that would consider themselves lucky and who were the people that would consider themselves unlucky, because the lucky people just tended to be more cheerful and open body language and optimistic and just seemed to be happier broadly, whereas the unlucky people tend to be more closed off and a little bit more stressed and anxious looking. And the theory here is that generally, because lucky events happen, because we bump into serendipitous interactions with different kinds of people, we are far more likely to get lucky events happening to us if we become the sorts of people that are more approachable. So if our body language is friendly and open and we're warm and we smile at people rather than scowl and frown and just sit in our phones whenever we're out in public, if you're the sort of person who has warm and approachable body language, someone might come up and talk to you or be more inclined to talk to you, and that's how lucky events happen to us.
So we definitely need to be mindful of what we're doing on a daily basis and being approachable and smiling. Every moment is an opportunity. The number one thing that really helped me get out of my comfort zone was Mel Robbins' 5-second rule, the book. I absolutely love that book. It is a game changer. I'm going to link it in the description down below, and I'm going to play a snippet on her YouTube channel that has really inspired me as well, and I think it's going to inspire you. It is one of the things that always rings in my head, especially because I feel like when I was a kid, I was so close with my mom, and I feel like I'm like, oh, I don't need to really do anything because my mom would always kind of accommodate me, right? And she would guide me in the right direction. And I was living with my parents until I was 25 years old. And it's like when you get thrown into the real adult world, sometimes it's hard to navigate, especially if you had a cushy childhood, right? So we need to recognize that as well. You don't need to go deep into it, but recognize that, you're an adult now and no one's going to do it for you. Literally no one is going to do it for you. So we need to do it for ourselves. And also use manifesting, law of attraction, law of assumption, the universe, God, our subconscious mind, all of that. I use that on a daily basis, hourly basis, but we need to pair it off with, hand in hand, our actions, right? Everything is about balance. So I'm going to play that clip right now.
The bottom line is, no one's coming. No one. No one's coming to push you. No one's coming to tell you to turn the TV off. No one's coming to tell you to get out the door and exercise. Nobody's coming to tell you to apply for that job that you've always dreamt about. Nobody's coming to write the business plan for you. It's up to you. And because you're only ever going to do the things that you feel like doing right now or that feel good right now, unless you understand that you've got to parent yourself, you got to push yourself, you're not going to make your dreams come true. You're just not. We're not wired that way. You weren't born that way. You weren't that way when you were growing up, and you're certainly not that way as an adult. And there's a tremendous amount of liberation that comes when you accept the fact that you're always going to need to give yourself a push.
So she didn't talk about the 5-second rule there, but the 5-second rule is essentially that moment where you get an opportunity, it's staring you right in the face, no matter how small or big it is, and you know that you need to take action right now. And if you literally, without thinking, just do the damn thing, counting down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and acting on one, and just doing it without thinking, you're not going to do it. You don't need to think. If you see someone influential and you're stuck in a lift with them, strike up a conversation. It's hard, yes, especially for people that are introverted, but if you literally just count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and just do it, it's going to be done. You don't need to overthink. And it is something that has helped me tremendously and has given me so many opportunities, right? So I actually skydived when I was 25, 2 years ago. Oh my God, guys, I am absolutely terrified of heights, but I used Mel Robbins' 5-second rule to do this. All I did without thinking was count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I just did it because it is an experience, and I would rather live in this world and risk it than just be a hermit and sit at home all my life because I'm too scared. It's different when you are intentionally sitting at home to work on yourself, to do whatever it is that you want, that you feel like is going to push the needle forward. Of course, there's comes a time where you have to live in the world and interact with people and actually take the opportunities that God is giving to you, and you're not recognizing it because you're too wound up in your own head thinking about what it is that you want. It doesn't look like this. I don't like how things are. I'm too scared. I'm not good enough. None of that matters. It doesn't exist. It's all just in our heads. So when we use the 5-second rule, we're not solving anything. We're not analyzing anything. We're not thinking about anything. What if this? What if that? Okay, no. We're just doing it. We're just ripping a band-aid off, and that's it. That's all it is, right? So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.